Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome all of our guests this evening. I want to call to your attention the podium on the middle of the floor. Anybody that gets recognized and has something to say must rise to the podium. We're implementing this policy going forward, which will enable the people listening on TV to better hear you and for the cameras to better focus on who's speaking. I ask if you are going to speak this evening to use the podium. And with that, we have some regular business to attend to before we get on to the informational hearing on the budget. We have minutes of January 22nd. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the January 22nd, 2008 regular session minutes as written. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? We have the executive session of January 22nd.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the January 22nd, 2008 executive session minutes as written. Second.
Motion made by Mr. O'Leary, seconded by, motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Correspondence. Come down to our secretary. Public comment. I think what we'll do is, during the budget presentation at some point, when we get through, we'll open it up to questions for those here associated with the budget. Next item is accept the library federal grant. Yes. Yes. But if it's related to the budget, I prefer that we wait until we get into the budget discussion. So we'll give you another opportunity.
Is there a list of the agenda? I didn't see any. Yes. It's outside the door. Oh, it's upstairs.
Did it get buried?
No.
No?
Not at all. Is that in?
Right there. Okay, we have accept the library federal grant.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept the $5,000 federal equal access grant for the purpose of augmenting funding for library programs and services for teens and tweens. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. O'Leary. Any discussion or
Yes.
comment? Mr. Vino.
Question, is this a grant that we have to match the funds, or is this just a straight $5,000 grant?
To my knowledge, there's no requirement for funds to be matched. So it is a straight grant.
It is a straight grant. Okay. And could I assume this will not be built into the budget next year if it's not there as a grant? Could I not assume that?
Well, the money, as you can see, is identified for books and other disposable items. And then there's also an amount that's been indicated, cover the hours for the person who works for it. So I would assume that based upon that, none of these would be reimbursed.
Okay, that's what I was trying to ask. Okay.
Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Next item on our agenda are appointments. We'll start with Mr. Harris.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following names for appointment as members of the Energy Study Ad Hoc Committee for terms to expire December 31st, 2008. There are two openings. Richard Harris, who is the fire representative to the chief, and Dan Jones, who is the police representative. He's a lieutenant in the department, and these are supposed to be filled a long time ago. It just never happened.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mr. Harris, seconded by Mr. Dardino. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. We have
Mine's the next one.
Water Commission, alternate
Oh, can
member
you do
for the Water Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I move to place in nomination the following name for appointment as an alternate member of the Water Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2010. There's only one opening. Alex Pecos, 22 Sunset Avenue.
Only one candidate. Motion by Mr. Harris, so here a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vino. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous? Mr. Vino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move to place into nomination the following name for appointment as a member of the Commission on Disabilities for a term to expire December 31st, 2010. One opening, Stephen A. Schuler, 4 Susan Drive.
Second that.
Motion made by Mr. Vino, seconded by Mr. Dardino. Discussion?
Yes, if I may, Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, Mr. Schuler has attended 2 of the meetings. Mr. Schuler is an attorney, and he's very interested, and he has practice in disability-type laws, and he will be a definite asset, and we look forward to him coming on board.
Thank you, Mr. Vino. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Breezed through that pretty quick. These are informal hearings, so we can proceed, right? We don't need to wait until 7:30?
Yes, just Mr. Chairman, we did post an advertisement in the newspaper, and it was posted at Town Hall listing the articles for the annual town meeting. Wanted to mention that the formal part of the budget hearing does not include the budget, although I understand there will be information presented on it, nor does it include capital or the affordable housing bylaw, as was previously asked by the board.
Mhm.
We've deferred the formal public hearing of those until after tonight's meeting. And also on the warrant, several articles to be included in the special town.
Would it be appropriate to proceed with an overview of the budget and the issues?
Yeah, I think the budget is probably a good place to start. I think many people are here to talk about reports of boards, committees on the ground.
I'm going to make a formal presentation, which is an overview to kind of lay out the landscape and the issues that we as a board and our citizens face associated with this year's budget. I'd like to go through the entire presentation and then allow the board to discuss in detail some of the options and issues that are forward. And then at some point, if there are questions from the audience, we'll open it up. If any board member wants to raise questions during the presentation, certainly do so. I think the message here is we as a board have a responsibility to obviously present to town meeting a balanced budget. We also have a responsibility to our children, and as we all know, what occurred last year as a result of a failed override and the cuts that were made and the issues that our school children have faced. And this year, the chair is certainly focused on trying to maintain at a minimum a status quo budget. And if for some reason we can find a way of putting back some of the things that were removed last year, we certainly should be considering it. At this point, if you give me a minute to turn on the projector, pull up the presentation and walk through it. looking at the FY 2009 budget and the options. I'm going to start by looking at taking a look at a reference point here, which highlights the current budget shortfall, and we'll go into some of the detail. Our FY 08 school budget was $20,700,000. I'm rounding numbers off. That includes the funds that were budgeted for the school department. It doesn't include funds that they collected in their revolving funds and grants that they may have received. This is the money that comes out of our revenue stream to support the school. And similarly, the town budget. Our revenues for last year that we raised from a budget point of view, this is what we're operating on. We budgeted $44,742,000. Now keep in mind that this next line will show where some of that money goes, because these two numbers don't add up to 44,000. But the budget is broken into essentially three pieces. The first piece is fixed costs, which include the health insurance, the employee benefits, our debt service, and other expenses that are fixed, and we basically take our revenue and we fund those first, and then what's left over is distributed between school and town budgets. So if we look at a level services budget, and this is probably a better word for it is the status quo budget. The school department was looking for $21,886,640, and the town was looking for $12,047,743. And if I recall, this is about a 5.5% increase. This number was something over 3%. And I'll get back into what that asterisk means in a minute. And that leaves us with a requirement of $33,933. $33,933,000 to fund both school and town budgets at a status quo level. Our revenue estimate, and this is based on Proposition 2.5 increases, new growth, the additional Chapter 70 money that is in the governor's budget, which is not a slam dunk yet. We took out we had estimated earlier our lottery, and that lottery number was reduced by $100,000 in the governor's budget. That's been removed, and so on and so forth. It gives us a $46.5 million type of revenue, and from that, we've taken our fixed costs, which is our debt service, which we've capped using the debt stabilization fund that we created last October, and an estimate of increase in our health insurance benefits, which in this particular number is 15%. And I had left out one other big piece of it is our retirement, the county retirement funds that we get billed that are in this fixed cost number. So if you take the estimated revenue and you subtract out the $13,700,000 roughly, you end up with $32,803,000 available for school and town. If you look at the amount of increase over last year for a status quo budget, the school was short $1,185,000 and the town was short $535,000. That's the 172. And if you look at basically what we have for available funds, and this number is what was used last year, we have $590,456 to distribute to cover this amount of money, and that leaves a total deficit of $1,130,835. Now I'll go back to this. The town administrator and the board was shooting for a 3% budget